Okay. Well. Your Yankees have strung together a couple of wins, and they are now 57-45. Welcome, everybody, to the show. It is Friday morning, July 24th, as I speak. And we are going to recap a Yankees-Pirates series that took place this past week. I think it was Monday. Tuesday was rained out, and then you have the doubleheader on Wednesday where the Yankees split. So we'll talk about that. The 57-45 Yankees, who are now second, or still in second place, but closer and closer every day as Tampa Bay continues to kind of free fall here. And the Yankees are just 2 games back from first place in the American League East. They also, by defeating the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are above 500, improved their record to, I think I saw 26-23 against baseball clubs that are 500 or better, which would be 7th best in Major League Baseball. So, for all that noise earlier in the season about the Yankees can't beat good teams, the Yankees aren't going to win in the playoffs because they can't beat 500 or better teams, which was always nonsense. This is a statistic that's always just been nonsensical garbage, and it never means anything. But if you were one of them people, I hope you're being just as loud now as you were back in April and May. So that was always a dumb thing, especially because teams beat up on each other and they caused their records to go up and down. I always thought that was silly. Like before the break, the Yankees beat the Nationals and their record against 500 teams went down because they caused the Nationals to go from 500 to sub. Anyways, that didn't mean anything, but the Yankees continue to beat anybody, good or bad, except for the Los Angeles Dodgers of late. But they did beat them in the third game. But the Yankees win. Boston lost yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say. So that was nice. Their little streak is snapped, and all that work just to be a couple of games over 500 must suck. But that's what happens when you're a bad baseball team. Tampa Bay begins a series with Cleveland tonight. I don't know who Boston plays. I got to check, but we're not worried about them. We're worried about the team in front of us. So Tampa starts a series with Cleveland. The Yankees will begin a series with Philly in Philly. But before we do discuss Yankees-Phillies, which will be in the next episode, we will talk about the Yankees-Pirates, where the Yanks took 2 out of 3. Again, taking the first and splitting the double. But in the first game on Monday, the Yankees won this game 8-5. You had the lefty Weathers going up against the righty Ashcraft. Yankee bats go for 8 runs on 1 walk, 2 home runs. Ashcraft gave up 8 runs in 3 innings. This is a very good starting pitcher with very good stuff, having a very good year, and the Yankees did a whole lot of damage on him. So that doesn't always make the headlines. It seems to only make the headlines when the Yankees struggle against good pitching. So let's point that out. Didn't do anything against the bullpen for 5 innings. Dotel is filthy. It was kind of a pitcher's duel after that early on scoring binge from the Yankees. But yeah, bottom first, Ben Rice scores on 2 errors from the Pirates. They were just kicking and throwing the ball around. It's 1-0 Yankees. And then Jazz Chisholm comes up to the plate and hits a 3-run home run on a hanging curveball to make it 4-0 Yankees. By the time you got to the bottom of the 3rd inning, and we're going to talk about Ryan Weathers, the Yankees were down 5-4. But fortunately, Jazz Chisholm, who can hit home runs, and he doesn't hit a lot of singles, is on this team, and he hits another home run, his second of the game, and then it's Jose Caballero with a 2-run double to make it 8-5 Yankees. So Jazz caps off his day, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Caballero, 2 for 4, double and 2 RBIs. Ben Rice, 1 for 3 with a walk. And Austin Wells goes 2 for 4 in this game too. So that was pretty much it on your offensive production. Very good offensive showing there. Ryan Weathers. Final line for Ryan Weathers, 4 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 home run allowed, 5 runs to his name. Continues to be really bad for the Yankees over the last kind of 2 months, last month plus. You know, if you go and look at his ERA through his first 8 starts, he had a 3.0 ERA with a 3.30 FIP. But if you go to his last 11, he's got a 5.49 ERA and a 4.41 FIP. So some luck in there still, but for the most part, it's been really poor command. And I think part of that is fatigue. You know, that can go hand in hand. He's not used to this many innings. He has been forced to start for this long into the season because of the injuries to Fried and Rodon and, you know, some other guys. And so he's just, I think he's a little tired, and I think you're seeing that through his command. You know, it's been very poor. It started where it was the 4-seam fastball getting lit up, but now it's kind of just everything. His secondaries are getting hit. Everything is missing middle of the plate. And that was kind of the same story in this start where he surrenders a 4-0 Yankee lead, which you cannot do. But he does it. And he was giving up hard hit balls from the very jump of this game. In fact, the average exit velo on balls in play against Weathers in this game was 94 miles an hour. You know, he gives up a blast in the first inning that was robbed, fortunately, from Dominguez. A couple other hard hit balls in the inning. You get to the top of the second, though. Again, the Yanks are up 4-0. Weathers has a chance to erase, you know, a shaky but clean first inning. And he gives up the double to Osuna. You know, it's a slider that got too much plate, puts runners on the corners, and then it was Triolo with a 2-run double, a sweeper middle of the plate. It's 4-2. So the lead's cut in half, and then later in the inning, it's Gonzalez with an RBI ground ball single, slider middle of the plate again. It's 4-3. He goes back out there in the top of the third, and then he gives Pittsburgh the lead. You know, he walks Reynolds to lead off the inning, and then he gives up the Valdez home run. The kid's good, but he gives up a home run to him. It was another slider that just had too much plate, and it's 5-4 Pittsburgh. So he was not good. He was mostly terrible, and I say mostly terrible because it wasn't all terrible. He still got an elite amount of swing and miss in this game. He got 40% whiff rate. And he still got tons of ground ball contact. You know, he was getting an average of 6-degree launch angle and a 50% ground ball rate in this game. But he also gave up some big mistakes. Again, throwing sliders right down the pipe. So it was mostly bad, and it continues to be mostly bad because of his command. And that's something that Ryan Weathers is going to have to figure out for as long as he's in this rotation. The bullpen, it was Chavi, Headrick, Hill, and Cruz. They combined to go 4 1/3, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, no home runs allowed, no runs. So a great night for them. A little later in this game, the bench is cleared because Jose Caballero doing the thing with the pitch count or the pitch clock. Dennis Santana saying some stuff to him. Nothing happened as usual in baseball. This was like a big talking point. A lot of people talk about. I'm not going to talk about it. I really don't care about this stuff. Caballero is just going to do Caballero things. He's not the greatest hitter, so he's got to find his ways to gimmick, and I'm not blaming him for that because technically he's allowed to. And that was Monday. And so I think Tuesday got rained out, and so Wednesday you have a doubleheader. Yankees lose the first game 5-3 in extra innings, 10 innings. You have the righty Cole on the mound against the righty Mitch Keller. You were hoping the Yankees could have got to Keller. He's not a good pitcher, but they only get 3 runs in the game, 5 walks, 1 home run. Did not score against Keller in 5 innings, but instead they got to a Pittsburgh bullpen that's just not good, and they got 3 runs and 5 on them. Bottom of the 7th inning, the Yanks are down 3-0. Ben Rice with a huge game-tying 3-run bomb. So he goes 1 for 5 with those 3 RBIs. And that was your Yankee offense. It was Ben Rice. Grisham was 1 for 4 with a walk, so it was nice to see him reach. Belli was 1 for 4 with a walk as well, as was Dominguez. McMahon was 1 for 4 with a double, and Wells went 1 for 1 with a walk. So a bunch of Yankees got on base multiple times, but, thank God for Ben Rice's home run. But outside of that, they couldn't really cash in. Yankee bullpen, 3 innings, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, no home runs, 2 runs. Headrick was fantastic yet again. We're going to talk about him right now. David Bednar worked into and out of trouble, continues to do his thing. Fernando Cruz struggled in extras. This was a move that Boone took heat on. I say why. He's been one of your better pitchers. It's sometimes the pitcher just has to pitch better. And he comes in the top of the 10th. The game is tied, and he gives up the lead to make it 5-3 Pittsburgh. He gives up the 1-out walk to Ozuna, and he couldn't find the zone with his forkball there. And then he misses his spots with his forkball in the next 2 at-bats to give up back-to-back RBI hits. And so that was that. I hate the extra inning rule. I hate that Manfred has this in place. I think it's stupid that he's forcing teams to play small ball. It's gimmicky. It's unethical. And I can't wait until the playoffs just so it's gone. But yeah, I liked what I saw from the pen outside of Cruz. And it was Headrick who just continues to do shit. He's just good. And I'm going to tip my cap to him for the 10th time this year. He's just been so good. And he pitches 2 more innings in this series. He strikes out 5. He walks nobody. Doesn't allow a single home run. Doesn't allow a single hit. I don't think anybody reached base. No runs scored. I don't think he's allowed a base runner since July 11th against Washington. And I don't remember the last time he's given up an earned run, knock on wood. He's just been so good. He's got the lively fastball, that over-the-top delivery. He gets good extension, so it gets some life on it. Sits 95. He's got the split change, which makes him that reverse splits guy. You can go to that left on right split change up, diving away from a righty like that. That's where he gets his big swing and miss. He's got the slider that he can back foot to righties. So he's an interesting pitcher to watch. And so he's just continued to dominate. And he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. Doesn't get any recognition because he's not a big name. That's typically how a Matt Blake bullpen goes. But he's been good. He was on Pitching Ninja the other day. He posted a couple of clips of him, so that was cool. Some recognition there. But yeah, the only thing is like, Headrick has been pitching a ton. And he's on pace to throw over 80 innings. And that is a lot of innings to throw. So you worry about that. You worry that you don't want him to get hurt, and you don't want any kind of innings workload to build up, and you want a little bit of a limit on it. Maybe there's a phantom DL coming. But again, I was on Twitter, and one of the guys from 161 on River Ave made a good point. Will made a good point, and I'm going to read his tweet here. Brent Headrick has already thrown 50 innings this season. Yankees assistant pitching coach Preston Claiborne said in a recent interview inside the Yankees that the team gave him intense winter instructions to build him up for this type of workload. And he posted a 30-second video of Preston Claiborne talking about this. So if you want to check out that, if you're a little bit worried about his workload, go to Will Pessick's page at Will Pessick _ that's on Twitter. Posted a good clip of that to kind of ease the concerns there regarding the workload for Brent Headrick. But good stuff there by Will. And I'm also going to tip my cap to Gerrit Cole. I mean, how do you not? This guy went out there on Wednesday in the first game of the doubleheader and just completely shoved. And so I'm tipping my cap to him for the 4th time this year. Listen, he looks great. In this game, 7 innings, 11 strikeouts, no walks. Yes, the 2 home runs to give up 3 runs total. I don't care. He was absolutely fantastic. And what I like from Gerrit Cole that we've been seeing is we're finally starting to see that swing and miss. The promising trends are starting to come where he's racking up whiffs again. You know, in his first number of starts before these last two, his whiff rate was 17.8%. It was very bad, very low. He was not getting anything. In his last two starts, and it's obviously a tiny sample size, but he started to look like the Gerrit Cole who thrives on getting swing and miss again. In his last two starts, 34% whiff rate, 40% K rate. In this start alone, he got 21 swings and misses on 53 swings. That's 40% whiff rate. And he got 11 strikeouts against the 25 batters he faced. That's a 44% K rate. It's great to see it coming, man. You know, that was my one concern. Some of it was command. Some of it was just some of the lineups he was facing were very contact-oriented. But the four-seamer is playing up with excellent velocity, excellent command. It's got good ride. The off-speed stuff's working with the sharp break and command. The best part about it is he's getting all these whiffs and he's getting all these strikeouts while walking nobody. Gerrit Cole's walk rate is less than 5%, and his K rate is now 26%. That's been a trend with Yankee starters this season. That's great. So it's nice to see that. So it's the combination of the velo, the ride, the break, the command that's inducing these swings and misses and these strikeouts. And he's been great. He's making very few mistakes, but the ones that he does make, you know, it's getting punished, which I think is unsustainable to just keep getting bit for home runs every time you allow something in the air. I don't think that's going to last forever, but made two mistakes in this game. Top of the fifth inning, Gonzalez hits a 2-run home run, change up middle of the plate to make it 2-0 Pittsburgh. And then you get to the seventh, it's the other Gonzalez. It's a solo home run on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball middle of the plate. It was like middle up, 97 middle up, gets hit for a bomb. It's 3-0 Pittsburgh at the time. Then Ben Rice goes and does what he does. But other than that, for Gerrit Cole, he was fantastic. You know, I mean, in the first inning, he gets Reynolds to strike out swinging 97 up and out. In the second inning, he strikes out the side. He gets Valdez 96 low and away. He gets O'Hearn to strike out looking 98 paint low and away. He gets Gonzalez to strike out swinging on 3 pitches, curveball low and away to finish him off. You know, third inning, he gets Davis to strike out swinging on a 97-mile-an-hour top of the zone fastball. He gets Callahan to strike out swinging, change up on top of the plate. You go to the fifth inning, he gets 3 more strikeouts. Valdez strikes out swinging again. It's 3 straight 96, 97 up top. O'Hearn strikes out looking again, 98 paint low and inside. Davis strikes out looking this time, 98 on the outer edge, paint. You know, sixth inning, he gets into the double figures. He gets Callahan on 3 pitches. He goes 4-seam up and out, 4-seam middle, back to a 4-seam up and out. Really good sequencing there. Then he gets Low to strike out swinging, changing eye levels on him. He goes 97 well above the zone for a whiff. And then he goes curveball low and away for strike 3. Just watching him, it's art. You know, it's just like watching somebody perfect their craft. And sometimes when you watch a guy in his craft, and you can really tell, like sometimes when you watch a guy do what he enjoys, you get a sense that, oh, they've been doing this shit forever. And watching Gerrit Cole just paint 99 with ease, you could tell, oh, this dude is a true veteran of this game. It's so easy for him. The mechanics are so smooth and slow that, like, you can tell he's been doing this shit for years. And it's easy for him. And you're just watching him out there make his art. It's art. It really is art. And watching Gerrit Cole, sometimes you really forget that. It's impressive. So overall in the season, he is now 11 starts in, 62 innings, 66 strikeouts, 12 walks, 110 whip, a 3.92 ERA. So he's getting better and better. I thought it was a very encouraging start. Unfortunately, they continue to lose Gerrit Cole games, which you don't love, but hopefully they can start winning those. And then the second game of the doubleheader, the final game of the series, the Yankees win 2-0. You have the lefty Fried making his first start back in months against the righty prospect Bubba Chandler. 2 runs on 2 walks, no home runs. They got no runs on Chandler in 6 1/3. The dude's filthy. I'm excited to see how he pans out for them. But again, they get to the Pittsburgh bullpen, 2 runs in an inning and 2/3. Bottom of the 7th inning, Jason Dominguez an RBI double, and then Anthony Volpe an RBI single to make it 2-0 Yankees. Volpe goes 1 for 3. Dominguez also goes 1 for 3. Belli 1 for 2 with a double and a walk. Nice to see that. Jazz 1 for 3 with a stolen base. But the story in this game was Max Fried and how good he looked for his first start in months. Coming back from the injury, he was on a limit, a little bit of a pitch limit, so they kept him under 70. But he goes 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, no home runs, no runs scored. He looked like peak Max Fried, diving into his pitch mix to get ground balls and strikeouts. That's what he does. He's got a deep bag, and he's going to use the entire kitchen sink on you. Hard stuff in, soft stuff away. That's what he does. Sinker into lefties, cutter into righties, and then he goes to the left-on-left sweep away, the left-on-right changeup away. He just knows how to pitch, man. And in this game, 7 of the 8 balls in play were on the ground. That's 88% ground ball rate. And 7 of the 16 batters he faced struck out. That's a 44% K rate. So missing bats and getting grounders is the name of the game for a pitcher. So he was looking great. And he was throwing very hard. That's great to see. The 4-seam sat 96. He touched 99, 98. Got a little bit of help from his defense with the Bellinger play in the, was it the first inning? Makes that great throw to prevent the leadoff double. Yeah, it was the first inning. So that was nice. But I'm just so happy to have Max Fried back. This rotation is going to be insane if these guys stay healthy. It's just, it's hard to see if they can get Aaron Judge back. Hopefully they do. It's so difficult to see anybody beating this team in an American League playoff. Obviously in series that have, best of 7, best of 5, anything can happen. But if these guys are on their game in a playoff, good luck. So Max Fried does what he does, and then the 4 innings from the bullpen, they strike out 5, they walk 2, they give up no runs, no home runs. Chavi was good yet again. Blackburn was fantastic yet again. And Will Warren was shaky in the closer role, put a couple of guys on, maybe uncomfortable, but Tim Hill had to come in. Tim Hill cleaned it up, though. And so the Yankees won. I was thinking about who to tip my cap to from the batting order, and I think position player-wise, and I think I'm going to give it to Cody Bellinger. I'll do that for the 5th time this year. I like what I'm seeing from Bellinger recently. In this series, some decent contact quality, like he's hitting the ball pretty hard. That's what you want to see again. He's been getting on base, and of course he's playing some more excellent left field defense, as we said, the assist on Wednesday night. So I think I'm going to give it to Cody Bellinger. He showed some life. You need him to get hot. He is so important to this lineup. He's been struggling for months now. It's been bad. So to see him hit the ball hard and reach base a little bit more is good, and walk. You just hope that home run starts to come, because he's still sitting on 11. That is a very low figure, especially for a guy who was brought in here to do exactly that. So that needs to start coming. But I did think the at-bats were a lot better in this series, so got to tip my cap to Cody Bellinger. I was going to tip it to Jazz. I was thinking about giving it to Jazz because Jazz has also been good lately. And, I just don't... I was thinking about it the other day. Jazz Chisholm, like there's one comparison that keeps coming back to me with Jazz, And how the Yankees fan views Jazz Chisholm, to me, is very similar to how the Knicks fan, I should say, how the Knicks fan used to view Karl Anthony Towns. Because if you think about the narratives for the both of them, you know, it's always been like the New York fan doesn't like their personality, right? It's Cat is too soft. Jazz is too about himself. You know, they don't think that, you know, a lot of fans criticize them and say they're not winning players, right? They're low IQ or they don't play the game the right way. Cat takes too many jump shots. Jazz is taking too many home run swings and they don't play defense. They're lazy. They're unfocused. You hear a lot of the similar stuff between the two of these guys. And both of them are like just very controversial for some reason. And they're the subject of trade talks on WFAN the next morning after a bad game every single time without fail. Every mistake gets magnified because people already have this preconceived opinion of them, right? Where their good games are going to get shrugged off, but their bad games become proof that their narratives were always right, right? Meanwhile, the things they actually do well, again, they get completely overlooked. Like Jazz Chisholm is one of the most athletic players in baseball. He has legit power, legit speed, defensive range, and he can change a game in multiple ways. You saw that in the playoffs. He didn't even hit much in the playoffs, but what he did on the bases against Boston, just getting from first to home like that, obviously he can change a game with a swing with the home run. We've seen that multiple times the past couple of weeks in the late innings. And then you got Cat, who's a similar type of player. One of the most unique big men in the NBA that the NBA has ever seen. He's just elite, right? Elite shooting, spacing, rebounding, and offensive versatility. Can change a game so many ways. So neither player are perfect, but both have become these lightning rods because fans decided who they were long before evaluating what they actually brought to the team. And here's the funny part. A lot of the Knicks fans spent years trying to convince themselves that Cat was not a winning player even before he got here, right? And this criticism lasted all the way up until this past June when he became a massive reason that the Knicks won a championship. And so what I'm trying to say here is sometimes as fans, we become so invested in a narrative that we're rooting for the narrative to be right more than we're rooting for the player to succeed. And I don't think that's right, but I think Jazz falls into that same category with a lot of New York Yankees fans. And so I think that should change. I think more of us should start rooting for the guy. I think more of us should start advocating for him, and let's ride with him because he's a great player, and you're supposed to get behind your favorite players. And your favorite player should be every player on your favorite team. So that's that. And I think the Yankees fan is just an interesting character, man. You know, just look at this stuff that's going on with shortstop right now. It's weird because Yankees fans are still not satisfied with Volpe. And like, this is when you're watching Volpe, when you look at what Volpe's done so far this season, this is literally what so many Yankees fans were asking Volpe to become, where they said he just needs to scrap the power. Enough with the home runs, be a pest, grind out at-bats, work walks, get on base. Guess what? Anthony Volpe this year is doing all of that. He's walking more. He's got a 13% walk rate. He's got a .341 on-base percentage. So he's posting a solid on base. He's posting a great walk rate. He's seeing plenty of pitches up there. And that's all come at the expense of slug and home run power. He's got a career low .322 slug with one home run right now. And you're all still unhappy. Why? Because there's no power. So that's what we've been trying to tell you. And then the convo shifts to like, well, he needs to hit for average. Well, first of all, if your on-base percentage is strong, your batting average becomes pretty irrelevant. Second of all, never at any moment in Anthony Volpe's professional baseball career was he this 300 hitter. So you've got to get that idea out of your head. He's not Derek Jeter. He never was. That was just media hype. The hope was always that he'd develop into a hitter who paired good OBP with some pull side power. In fact, when Volpe broke out as a prospect in the minor leagues, it was when he leaned into that power. And he hasn't been able to consistently tap into it in the majors. But when he does, that's when he's at his best. But right now, you have to live with what you were all asking for. You asked him to be this on-base pest who doesn't hit for power, and you're still upset. And you don't realize it's because you're upset because he's not hitting for power. So what you asked for was this. He's a slightly below average bat that works, walks, gets on base, and makes soft contact. You asked for it. The trade-off for minimizing power is that you minimize impact too. So that's why I feel for a guy like George Lombard. You know, like, the expectations on this kid are crazy right now. He's getting a lot of buzz lately about him because I think Yankees fans and pundits are expecting him to be promoted pretty soon. All of a sudden, there's been a lot of noise about that. I'm not going to get into Lombard and his scouting report. I will say I don't know that he's ready. I don't know that he's ready for right-handed pitching at the major league level. The glove is definitely ready. I think the glove has shown that it's ahead of the bat right now. It's versatile, rangy, athletic, good arm. But there is a difference between being MLB ready defensively and offensively. So I feel for Lombard because if George Lombard doesn't hit right away in the midst of a pennant race, you know, this is an ugly fan base at times. You know, they are so quick and they are so aggressive with how they will turn on you just after they were advocating for you. You know, it's like you wanted him and you wanted them to promote him early and you wanted them to promote him right away. So he comes up, and if he struggles right away, now he's a bust. It's very hypocritical, you know, and so I don't think that helps. And I don't think these labels help, these comparisons that they get next to their name when they're at a young age, the media hype. I feel like the Yankees fans fall for that every time. You know, Volpe, he had the Derek Jeter tag next to his name all this time. He was expected to be Jeter immediately instead of a 20-something-year-old shortstop figuring it out. Dominguez, you know, he had these impossible expectations because he was the Martian and there was this hype and these superstar comps next to him, right? He was supposed to be the next Mantle, the next Bo Jackson, the next Mike Trout. That was literally on his 2020 scouting report on MLB Pipeline. You know, so I just don't like... I think us as fans, when we look at these prospects, do your own research. You know, read up on scouting reports, temper your expectations, follow the player's journey, look at his do your own stuff, and don't just listen to these comps that are thrown around on social media, because that's going to set you up for disappointment. This fan base often treats prospects like they're finished products instead of developing projects. You know, the hit rate for prospects is very low. They almost never develop, and pretty much all of them never develop into, like, they don't develop in a straight line. Progress with these prospects is not usually linear. Struggles become he can't play instead of those struggles just being he's adjusting. You know, every 0 for 14 feels like it's a career verdict in this city. You know, it's an impossible standard. It's an impossible standard because fans compare rookies to stars instead of league average rookies. The expectation is crazy. There's no patience for learning experience. There's no patience for learning major league sequencing and velocity and scouting reports and any of that. And it gets even worse, again, during a pennant race because every at-bat is magnified. So I think things like confidence matters. And so when he's coming up and he's getting bashed on social media, if he struggles and he's getting booed constantly, God forbid, and you know, you're calling somebody a bust, that helps nobody. It helps nobody. And so I don't think just because he's had some success in AAA, it's going to automatically translate into the big leagues. young players usually have to make those adjustments in the league, and then the league's going to adjust to them, and then they have to adjust back, you know? So fans ask for the youth movement, and then they demand veterans the second that the youth struggles. And I just think we have to remember prospects are prospects, right? And these rankings are probabilities. They're not these like locked in guarantees. Even elite prospects fail. It's just part of baseball. It's not necessarily bad evaluation or bad organizational process. Organizations develop players over the years. Fans are the ones who often judge them over 1 week. So you just look at somebody like Wells. He was a pretty decent prospect for them, and he's having one bad season, and all of a sudden he's got to go. He should never be here again. They should just cut him and trade him. But fans forget, like, Wells was pretty solid before this year. He was a 700 OPS bat consistently for 2 years with great framing, and that's a really good catcher. Now he's just been absolute dog shit. But, like, you know what I mean? It's like the second thing, he wasn't getting appreciated when he was hitting the last 2 years. But now he's just getting double downed on. And you got Ben Rice. Ben Rice, before he became Ben Rice, you know, you go back to 2024, he struggled. Remember that. Those 50-something games he was here, he struggled. Do you remember the reactions? I posted something on my Instagram in that upcoming offseason after 2024. I'm like, I think Ben Rice could be a solid platoon major league bat. I'm going to give him another shot because I like his metrics and I like the process that I saw. And I got a buddy of mine replied to me and said, like, you're going to be optimistic about Ben Rice? And I'm like, yeah. But Rice got off to a slow start, you know, and now they all love him because he's producing. They don't want to hear about that, though. They don't want to hear about process. They don't want to hear about metrics because there's no patience. There's not a lot of brains with some of these guys, some of these fans. But yeah, fans, they raise expectations. They shrink the timeline, you know, and a prospect is not allowed to become good in 2, 3, 4 years. He has to do it in 2, 3, 4 weeks, you know, otherwise it shifts from a future star to a bust. So I hope that George Lombard, whenever he does get here, can temper or can handle that adversity. It's just an impossible standard for almost any young player. So it's tough to deal with. But I just hope we're easy on him. And so that's that. I don't want to talk too much about this series. Yanks beat the Pirates in 2 out of 3. I just wanted to talk about some of these expectations we have. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this up right here. I got to head to work soon. So appreciate you, and I'll see you all very soon. Let's go beat the Phillies. God, I hate that city. I hope we can beat Philly. Let's go Yanks.